Ronin, it's your name. It's a stage name. It's also your identity. So, can you reveal to myself and the people watching what that identity is?
Yeah, so basically, I think before I talk about how Ronin applies to me, I wanna share, I guess my more academic understanding of what a Ronin is. So Ronin, more colloquial, it's seen as a samurai without a master, but there's a bigger story behind that. A more tragic story, I would say. Like essentially, if a samurai had failed to serve their master while they were, under contract or under their watch, they would be exiled. Like so, if the master died or if the master was disappointed with them in some kind of way, they'd be exiled and they would effectively be stripped of their title of samurai and they'd be placed in like the lowest rung of the Japanese feudal caste system, and they'd be cursed to wander the Japanese countryside, for the rest of their lives. Social and it's a personal and social and highly political curse to be placed on an individual. So, um, I guess to apply that to me of what a Ronin, like why I chose that terrible circumstance of Ronin. Um, I think that there's a great deal of loneliness in my music, and there's a lot of loneliness that I sing about, that I talk about, and at, and with that knowledge of seeing like a Ronin and understanding that about Ronin, like they also, I'm assuming they went through a very similar kind of loneliness. This loneliness where they were trying not only to, I guess, not only to survive, but also to try to find themselves in a new identity of this, of being completely alone. And that's something that I took with me. Ronin as an artist is a very I would see Ronin actually as a very broken individual who's trying to define uh, the parts of himself through his music.
So
Yeah.
basically, just to go off the back of that, that effectively, would you say is that your purpose is to wanting to be in the music industry? To be that Ronin, to
I,
sort of develop you.
I think so. Yeah, I have many reasons for going into the music industry. Almost too many to count sometimes.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think that it's less. I think it's less of me going into the music industry for the music industry, but more so me pursuing music as a general career and lifestyle. Really, really to just to self actualize
Yeah,
in a
that
way.
identity. What influences could you say have helped fuel that identity? And what would you say growing up that you've heard or listened to that has being a part of you or become to be a part of you?
Yeah. I think that just from the very start, when I first started playing music, when I first started performing, and when I first started writing music, just really all of my influences were extremely eclectic. They all came from different kinds of sources. Like I grew up I grew up listening to classical music, to jazz music, like and deep jazz. Like like Thelonious Monk, um, a lot of trumpet players, so then like Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie, Louis Armstrong, uh, and then I transitioned I transitioned to like blues and classic rock, hard rock, um, and then I went through a folk stage um, with like folk rock and alternative and stuff like that, and then I mean essentially if you name a genre, I've probably listened to that for a fair amount of time. Um, so then really me moving forward with my own music, I just it's really something that I just love music to the point where I don't want to limit myself to any kind of genre. Um, and to be that kind of to be Ronin in that sense is that kind of wandering state of really going through everything, going through
Yeah.
like having these moments where I dip into these different genres while you know
So let's get down to the EP now. Speaking of music, those influences enabled to, well, how can I put it? They fueled your identity. They fueled the Ronin. What can people expect sonically to this EP that you've been working with Joe Vulpis with?
Yeah, yeah. In this EP, and I'm very thankful. I just want to say right off the bat how thankful I am to AP Music and to Joe Vulpis for helping me out on this career path. But I guess in this EP alone, uh, I I don't really want to I don't really want to assume form for people. I think I would like people to draw their own conclusions because some songs, in my opinion, don't really cleanly fit into a genre. Like Chemical Smiles just kind of goes all over the place at some points. Um, to which I'm very happy with. I was not intending to do that. I just wanted to write a song I like. Um, but in the EP itself, I mean, yeah. So then there's a hard rock song. There's they're definitely very pop influenced. Uh, pop influenced R&B and electronica and things like that. But really, I just want to make a sonically new and interesting experience for anyone.
Chemical Smiles. I mean, I've had the privilege of listening to that song, and again, every single time I turn the song on, it's like an intoxication of different sonic wave paths that it takes you on a trip basically. And I remember listening for the first time, and I was like, whoa. Because I've heard different production styles from Joe and different artists, and I just thought, hang on a second, like, this is different. So Chemical Smiles, that is the first single to be released,
Yeah.
which I don't know if you're going to give the release date away yet or not. Are you going to do that?
I'm pretty sure this interview is airing after the release of the single.
That's
So,
great. So
it'll already have come out.
it's always out now. So if you
Yeah.
okay, good.
Came out on June 17th. If you haven't seen it already, check it out. It's you won't regret it.
Yeah, you really will. You really will not regret that song. Listen to that song. It's such a trip. Now I actually noted down a specific line from Chemical Smiles that I wanted to ask you about because
Oh yeah,
I again, when I listen to songs, I like to look at lyrics or I like to listen and sort of interpret, in my own view. But I wanted to ask what it meant to you. The actual line, "It's your chemical smiles. They hide your pain. I know your game." What is it about the chemical smiles that you're trying to, portray?
yeah. That's the answer to that is actually very long.
Okay,
It requires a lot of backstory. I'll try my best to be a little more concise with it.
sure.
But Chemical Smiles, it's the title of the song. It's also like this. It's this new term that I want to bring into circulation, I guess. So Chemical Smiles, also can be interpreted as as a false smile, as a fake smile, from how it's fake or why it's fake is up to interpretation. But that specific line itself is it's your chemical smiles that hide your pain. I know your game. It's really in this particular instance with identifying chemical smiles and explaining them. Chemical smiles is meant to mask mask this pain that this girl I'm singing about in the song is feeling. So then chemical smiles. She's hiding her pain. She is she's covering it up with a false smile, but I see through that. Like I see
The chemical smile being sort of a way of hiding that pain. Is that something you've actually writing them lyrics and writing that song? Is that what you could feel the most? Is the pain going through that process?
That's the funny thing about Chemical Smiles. When I was writing that song, the process of writing that song was much longer than for my other songs. It took me a few years to write it.
Wow.
And for a few reasons. One, I think it was a very hard song to write sonically. I was struggling a lot with trying to figure out how exactly I wanted the song to be directed and how I wanted it to actually make the listener feel. You know, like what vibe I was trying to rein in. But also, I think that what I didn't fully understand what chemical smiles itself meant. Like the term I created was far beyond my own understanding. Um, so then, to answer your question about about it being about the pain in the writing process, I think it was more of just I think it was more of just um, understanding that concept and then how multiple parts fit into it uh, throughout the entire song. So when I was focusing on the pain
Hmm.
of the girl that I was writing about, that was difficult. I would say that was very difficult. But the song itself is a little bit is much breezier than just
Yeah.
focusing on pain like 24/7.
Hmm.
So it's like you're taking apart or going deeper every single time
Hmm.
that you speak with someone. Um, and it's like in my case, it's like the first layer being these smiles, and then second layer being you realize that they're false, and you want to understand more, you want to know why that happens. And then it's like the third layer is like you see that that person is in pain, you see that there's something much more sinister going on. uh, and that was something that took time for me to understand
Yeah.
when I was writing the song and when I finished the song. So yeah.
I mean, wow, I'm so glad I asked that question because I can just, to some extent, I can see or hear the amount of pain and different layers that you went through, let alone just writing the song and producing the song. And what I find interesting is what a lot of other people are going to take away as their chemical smile to listen to. Usually, well, not usually, but in some cases, people tend to have a journey with the sonic from one song to another. Is there any particular flow that you created in this album at all, or?
In the EP itself,
Mhm.
um, I mean the EP. It's the
Or was it
EP.
more just of an experimental piece? Is that, you know?
Oh, no, no, no. There's definitely a story behind it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really want to go into too much
That's
detail.
okay.
Yeah, the EP is little snapshots
Hmm.
of uh, of parts of a relationship that I was in a little while back, and it's like a prelude to an album that I hope to release in the near future.
Right.
There's more going on.
I see this album as a catalyst of, strength. I see it as you being the Ronin, battling through the pain, the smiles, the chemical smiles. That's what I see when I listen to this album. That's the journey I go through from start to finish. You know. Okay, so just to talk about the creation of the EP. Now we've talked about the sonic, we've talked about the sound, we've talked about some of the lyrics in Chemical Smiles, which is out, by the way. If we haven't mentioned already, it's out. Go ahead and listen to it because it's incredible. I need people to listen to it. I need to show people what this song is like. Anyway, so creation process. Now Joe Vulpis, he's such a dear friend to me. I love him. He's an amazing guy. What was he like to work with on this album? And what was the process like in detail?
This is the first time. This is the first time I've successfully ever worked with another human being on a project like this. Because my songs are deeply personal, and I have a very specific way I want my songs to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that I have tried working with other peers. I produce all my tracks, so I never needed a producer.
Yeah.
But um, every single time that every single time before Joe that I worked with an engineer, some way along the line, the project would get hijacked or
Okay.
get in some kind of way. So then I just the moment that happened, I was gone like that.
Yeah. Sure.
But with Joe, what was really cool about him was that he was very open to just hearing me out in what I wanted and moving in that direction as like the best way that he can.
Mm-hmm.
So so I would say that Obviously there's like a learning curve when you work on a project like this, and it takes time for you to get in sync with like the other person.
Mm-hmm.
In Joe's case, like that learning curve went by very quickly, and we were able to communicate very well, and he was able to execute my vision for the song. It was a very valuable learning experience for me too,
Mm-hmm.
because I was searching for perfection,
Yeah.
going into that, and that is definitely it's a sign of being naive and being kind of um, it's not stupid is the wrong word, even though I gladly use that on myself. Uh,
You're not stupid at all.
it was it was that kind of not being able to understand that some expectations can't be met,
Yeah.
you know, regardless of how hard you try.
Yeah.
And you know, uh, so then I had to learn that as much as I wanted a song to come out a certain way, or as much as I wanted this
Mm-hmm.
particular part, this one word to just pop out a little bit more, to come down a little bit, really the differences would have been negligent, and
Mm-hmm.
it would have just been to inflate my ego, to like push
Yeah.
push the production process, like 2 months down the line for my own sake.
Yeah. Sure. So would you say this is the starting blocks to continue working with Joe? Are you gonna maybe potentially working on for the future project or?
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, hopefully, like the future opens up in a lot of different crazy ways. But regardless of what happens, I'm fairly certain I'm going to finish the album with Joe.
This is kind of just to wrap up the conversation a little bit, and we've talked about the album, we've talked about your identity. Going forward, what is your mission statement? Going forward, now I know there's a lot that you've got to say with music and a lot you've got to say with lyrics, but what if you could just sort of concisely put together a statement for Ronin and who you are, what would you say that is?
Yeah. Music, in my opinion, is for the listener. Music is not to inflate an ego. It's not to exalt oneself.
Mm-hmm.
So moving forward here with whatever messages I want to put out and whatever I want to say, it will always be for whoever has enough time and interest to listen to what I have to say. So then, so ultimately, I'm here for you. I'm here for who wants to listen, and I hope that's always how it will be.
And on the back of that, where can people listen to you? Where can people find you?
Basically everywhere when the song is released. I'll be on. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, just YouTube, and all of these different places. We're going to be playing on radio. I'm going to be doing live shows in open bars across the East Coast.
What shows have you got coming up? Because I know that's something that's on your website that we've put together.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure because I'm terrible with thank God I'm a manager, because I'm terrible with this kind of shit. Uh, but yeah, I mean, basically anywhere I can play, anywhere people want to listen to me, I'll play.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll sing. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and explaining a little bit about the song, a little bit about yourself,
Yeah.
and what it is that your intention is to put out into the world. Again, I can't reiterate how much that I suggest people just go and listen. Don't judge, just sit, listen, and appreciate what sound comes out of that file that that is played. Thank you so much for sitting down with me, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Robert. I really.
Wish you all the very best success in everything, because I'm seeing what I'm seeing right now is just the start, and I can't wait.
Thank you.
Touch, it's your chemical smile. They hide your pain, I know you get your chemical smile. 1, 2, 3, 4, bam, I found your chemical smile. They hide your pain,